Basically, like I was saying, you've got many young people out there looking up to you. When you talk about Doi, you are one of the names that would be mentioned. Today, I want you to have a conversation with the young people out there, or those Doi admirers who are yet to make a leap forward towards the progressives. What is your message to them? The historical overview and your experience in Doi.
Well, Suleiman, thank you very much. That is a loaded question, but let me give them an Doi from my own perspective. In 1986, as a young man, I was presented with literature that had PDOIS on it with this logo.
Yes, 16 sun rays.
I did not know what DOI was about until I was able to attend a rally in Serakunda West, just where, what's the name of the place again? Bakadaji.
Mm.
And I listened to the speaker speak. And it was different from everything I knew. Because the politics that I knew up to that point was the politic of Mbabas, Sabargi Jolly. You go to a rally, the whole rally, there will be no policy discussed. For the first time, I heard them talk about the salary of a president. I heard them talk about how much a president is paid when he travels, how much the wife is paid when she travels with the president. I was sitting there listening attentively. And they were talking about policy and programs. At that point, maybe I was not sophisticated enough to understand. But something in the message resonated with me. I said, that's interesting. Then I continued to follow their rallies, built a relationship with some of them, like Mbai Sise, Sehdau, Halifa, Adamaba, Samsar, Amisila, Sidia, you name it. But then when I became overly convinced was in 1988, I was visiting Georgetown. Doi was to hold a rally in Georgetown. And the Armitage students were advised not to go to the rally. And I was asking myself, why? But then what I came to understand was a people that were fearful of the message that was coming. And throughout this period, I've not heard them talk about violating laws. In fact, they were telling people to respect the laws, telling them what the Constitution says, what their rights were. But maybe they were afraid that if these young people were exposed to the ideals and ideas of this party, maybe they would not stand for what was happening at Armitage. Because at that point, I ate from Armitage. Pata went to Armitage, and some of these other people, the reason why he's crazy is the type of rice that they were eating. You know, you'll eat rice, gundur, and all these things. Those things happen there. It was not very healthy. And we also knew that Armitage was a hotbed for students, you know, fighting for some of these things. So maybe that was the reason why they said, no, this was not the case. But then I also listened to these people who were able to talk to people at their level. This is why this notion that people do not understand, though I find it to be laughable. Because they would tell you what governance is all about through Lebato. If it is Wolof or Mandinka, whether Sidia was speaking or Halifa was speaking. Nit ki dafa ñëw si kër gi kapinta la luñ ko fay si su jëdee saako maalo la caa des sa du mën a dundal njaboot ga ba mu ñëwee sa kër ga ñu ne ko yaay ji dafa am stroke mu dal di enu yaay ji yow dal di ko yóbbu ca lopitaan ja ba mu demee sa lopitaan ja ñu ne ko da nga war a fay juróom fukki dërëm bala ñëw visiter sa yaay bu feel juróom fukki dërëm ya ñu visiter yaay ja ñu ne ko yaay ji dafa war a tëdd si lopitaan yooyu bu nekk da nga war a fay juróom fukki dërëm muy fay di def fay ba demati mënatut a fay ñu ne ko ah gannaaw amuloo la fay yaay ji dañ ko war a génne si lopitaan ji mu dal di enu yaay ji yóbbu ko ca kër ga ba mu ko yóbboo ca kër ga yaay ji génn àdduna mu enu loxo ya yuuxu ne ko yaay sa coono gi nga nekkee sa liggéey bu coono gi nga nekkee bi génn àdduna sa liggéey bu bon tegu la ko waaye nag xëj na yàlla moo la teg coono gii nii yaa ngi dégg loolu si olof Libaatu ba pare mu dugga ci I'm going to do this sorry mu dugga ci arab si alxuraan ne yàlla tegut nit coono si àdduna kóotal la di alxuraan wax la exactly yan la yàlla wax ak fan la teg nit so how do you turn around and say that the message that person was conveying to people was above the levels of people. So the message has always been very clear. Know yourself, know this world, and you shall be the commander of your own destiny. You are as important as anybody else in this country. The president is your employee, is not your boss. You are the one who put him there. You are paying his salary. This is how much you pay him every time. So the message has always been very, very consistent, Suleiman. But then I looked at these people. I followed them. I interacted with them. But I saw people who were living the same lives that they were living outside, that they were living in private. I started studying them. What was Sam like when he was at the social welfare, not at the Gambia High School as a teacher? Has he ever been accused of abusing the system, abusing students, mismanaging funds, stealing chalk? No. Has he ever been accused of exploiting students or parents? No. But what I learned was, here was a guy, one of the greatest physics teachers ever produced in that country, who was sacrificing for students, who was organizing students, raising funds, paying for underprivileged students. This is what I found out. That there is a guy that you would come to him and say, Mr. Sar, I wanted to take classes. He would tell you, go and call your mother. Your mother will come and he would ask the mother, how much can you pay? The mother will say $5. $5 is a month. He would say, that's the salary. That's the fee. That's what I found. Then I said, okay, who is Sidia Sanajata? And I found a guy who had the equivalency of a PhD, who was living a very simple life, riding on bicycles, distributing foraya. You sit with him and he treats you like as if you are the same age and level of education with him. I saw somebody who sacrificed everything for country, including refusing to be posted to a department that was not beneficial to the knowledge that he gathered. That's why when they said, oh, Manjang was the first person in history to refuse to be put in an office that did not commensurate with his qualifications, and said, nope, go back to history. Sidi Ajata was the first. And he did it, and they refused to pay him salaries. Then I said, who was Amisila? He was a person working at the Minister of Health, but organizing women, helping women, doing everything within her powers to elevate people. Somebody who refused to live an extravagant lifestyle. Then, who is Fai Suso? And I found somebody who was a headmaster, but decided to give that up and start working at Nyako Nursery School, earning less than half of what he was earning as a headmaster. You ask Swaibu Ture, you go to the others, the same thing. And who is Halifa? And I found somebody who was equally very smart, but very humble like the others, whose all ideals and ideas was the liberation of a people, the uplifting of a people. And I said, this is my party. This is the party that I belong to. But then, what is DOI? You mentioned revolution and revolutionary. You know, when you say revolution, people, the first thing that they think about, you know what? Oh, what did they call it? Oh, people fighting guns. No. What DOI did was they came to revolutionize Gambian politics. How were they supposed to do that? They came and found a polity that was based on sentiments and fanfare. And they said, no, we are not going to do that. What we are going to do as a group is to enlighten the masses so that they would own themselves, think for themselves, and then would make informed decisions. You see, Suleiman, so people will talk about, oh, DOI, they were rigid. When they came, they would refuse to even go and eat with people. No, they've never had a problem eating with people. What they had a problem with exploiting people. People need to understand the two. Because what politics was the exploitation of the people, the poor people especially. But what DOI was trying to do was, you know what, go to the people and say, you know what, we are coming here asking you for a job as politicians. And the only thing we are armed with is our message. Those who accuse even DOI of not eating, they don't even know. When Halifa, Sidi, and all these people go, they sleep in the same huts as their hosts. They have never gone to anywhere and say, we are going to Basse to find a hotel to stay. That's not true. You spread a mat on the floor, they will sleep on the floor with you. They've never elevated themselves above the people. It has never happened. It will never happen. Why would it never happen? Because the same people that people say in public, see in public, I have seen them in private when it is the most convenient for them to act otherwise. If you've dealt with Sam, if you've dealt with Halifa, if you've dealt with Sidia, if you dealt with Swaibu, if you dealt with any one of those people, the person that you see in public would be the person that you'll be dealing with in private. Their salaries. You look at when Sidia was elected into the National Assembly. What did he do? The first time ever that was done in the history of our politics. He established the Woolly Fund, in which the majority of the money was put in that fund to help his constituents. He established this adult literacy program,
Mhm.
helping people to educate themselves, because as Celia said it, the most important aspect of a human right is the right to privacy. And if you're going to read your own letters that are written to you, have somebody reading it for you, you're pretty much compromising your privacy, because whatever the discussion is, it would have been known by a third party that you may not have been comfortable knowing. And that program still continues.
Mhm.
Khalifa got elected. He did the same thing, just like he was doing even when he was in the United States. We had a conversation, and I'm like, the struggle in the US. And he told me he had a way, and that's from here up to the time he went to Gambia. His salaries were divided in three: one for the struggle, one for the family, and one for himself. Like when they were in the Gambia, we all know about the voice of the future.
Hmm.
And everything that they were doing, they were taking their resources, injecting it in there. That's how they've lived their lives. There is nothing that you're seeing from these people now that is different from what you've been seeing 30, 40 years ago from them. They've always been very, very committed towards the uplifting of the Gambian people, the African people, so that they would live a life of dignity, liberty, and prosperity. So, to the young people, Suleiman, the question that Gambians need to ask themselves is, why has the Gambia been so underdeveloped for 55 years now? That is a fundamental question. And some of the things that people will tell you will be corruption, mismanagement of funds, and the elite living way above the ordinary people. Gambia, if you want to break from that, your answer is DOI. Why is it DOI? I have articulated here. That's why I mention names. Tell me one DOI member who, for the past 30 years, has ever been accused of any form of corruption or mismanagement of funds in that country. Any. For 30, I'm not talking about 10 years, I'm not talking about 5 years, I'm not talking about 3 years, over 30 years of service or 40 years of service in that country. And they worked in the civil service. Khalifa was a civil servant. Sidia was a civil servant. Abisila was a civil servant. Sidia was a Samsar was a civil servant. Faisuso was a civil servant. You name it, all of them were civil servants. They worked as teachers. They worked as curriculum development officers. They worked as social welfare officers. Or tell me one of them, one person. I want to hear one person come out and tell me that this person is doing has ever mismanaged one butut of Gambian resources, or that they have lived any form of life that is beyond their means.
That
I'm
is,
waiting for that. So then, if you don't have that, and they've lived a very public life, listen, Suleiman, Gambia deserves a leadership that is not only honest, but one that has integrity, and one that would put the country first. And I believe that Gambia's new beginning can only come if we elect selfless leaders who've refused to be overtaken by the ones, these worldly gains and material resources. I can put my hand up and say, from what I know of these people, and I challenge anybody else, They do not want a penny of that country, neither would they ever mismanage the resources of that country. And if Doi were to be given the mantle of the state leadership, they would usher in a true democratic Gambian, genuine democratic Gambian, where we will all be able to share our views irrespective of political affiliation or religious or any of these sectional affiliations. It is the only party that has refused to be drawn into this talks of negative fights between taking a side because of, oh, I'm going to stand here because the Muslim vote is very, very important, so I have to say something that is politically correct to be able to get it. This is why in 1987, 1992, you would hardly see vote for Doi, because what the party believed was it is important for us to come to you and tell you exactly what we are going to do for you, and you will vote for us based on those merits, not just mere rhetoric. Suleiman, many people will tell you, uh, Doi, how they are not relevant. Isn't that what people will tell you? Or they have 3% of the vote. But guess what? There is a reason why there is no topic of discussion in that country where people will not be waiting or listening for what Doi has to say. There's a reason for that. Because you know why? Because Doi speaks with sincerity. You know why? Doi speaks with clarity. And even its biggest detractors know that the party that is worthy of listening to in that country is the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism. So, Suleiman, I believe that I say it was a loaded question. You can always stop me because of my, what you call it, wahkat, so could you hear microphone? I'm got problem. But the, the issue here is DOI belongs to all Gambians. It's a party for Gambians. It's answerable to the Gambians. This is why it is seeking the mandate of Gambians to be able to run the affairs of that country. It is therefore important for people to know that when we go to elections, every ballot box has 0 votes until people start voting. 0. As a result, your vote is as important as anybody else's vote. So if you want to vote for a future, a country of liberty, dignity, and prosperity, DOI is your party. If you're interested in sectionalism, it's not. Suleiman, I'll just shut up and give other people a chance to speak. Thank you.
Well,